So you're watching a Cornwall Channel special. I'm super excited about this. I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves. We're talking connectivity here with broadband with Wildanet. I'm going to start first of all with Helen Wylde, the CEO of Wildanet. Helen, an exciting day yesterday for Cornwall and its people and yourselves. Tell me a little bit more about it, please.
So yesterday we could announce that we'd received £36 million worth of funding from Project Gigabit from DCMS, which basically allows us to build 2 areas in Cornwall which are currently underserved for gigabit capable broadband, and frankly broadband really of any type. One is West Cornwall and the other is what's called Mid Cornwall in terms of those 2 areas, and that will cover over 19,000 homes, and that will be done over the next 2 years. So that will make a fundamental difference in terms of what's available for broadband and for businesses and for homes and what they can do with it. So we're really excited about that. It's a huge win for us as Wildanet, but it's a huge win for the county as well.
Indeed, and we're not just talking about a frustration of not having decent speed internet at home. It's the things that we're going to be able to do with it. People's imaginations will be able to run wild. And with that being said, Paddy, would you like to introduce yourself and your role within Wildanet?
Yeah. I'm Paddy Paddison. I'm the Chief Information and Technology Officer for Wildanet. I was one of the founders as well, so I've been here a long time now, 5-6 years now.
It's your fault. It's your fault.
This was my silly idea. So my responsibility is around the technology that we use. So the 10 gigabit service that's going to be available to people and faster in the future. Yeah,
unbelievable. And we've got some things here we're going to
talk
about.
A bit of show and tell. Yeah,
but a bit of kit. We'll talk about that. And yourself, the last but no means least, introduce yourself.
Hi Shane. My name's Justin Clark. So I'm the Chief Operating Officer and Deputy CEO here at Wildanet. So kind of in terms of what we're talking about today, I was responsible for leading our bid and working with DCMS and BDUK, and now we've won it. I'm on the hook for designing it and building the network and then providing the customer services at the end once our customers join us.
So look, guys, and feel free to chip in anytime. I want this to be a very relaxed conversation today and more airtime than a normal traditional channel would give, because it's really important. What does this really mean for the future? Viewers watching and listening and reading on subtitles, because people watch our videos with subtitles. What does this mean for people who are living in Cornwall? Yes, you're going to employ a lot of jobs, and we'll touch on that later on. But what does this mean in terms of capabilities of what people can do? Helen, can I come to you first?
So if I start just about the application. So once this fibre is available, it will be life-changing for some people. So just start with the average home. If, for instance, you're elderly and you want to stay in your home, going forward, some of the e-care and e-health applications mean that you can do that, because you can have monitoring, you can have robotics, you can have assistance, all of which means you can probably spend another year at home before you need that special care. You can only do that if you've got consistent, high-quality broadband. So for an ageing population, which there is a lot of within Cornwall, that's really, really important. And a lot of them aren't in towns, they're in the more rural areas. This service will provide that type of service to them. Also, it means if you work from home, and let's hope to goodness we don't have another pandemic, but faced with that, I think a lot of people in Cornwall really, really struggled with coverage. Actually, you'd have all the coverage that you need, and if the kids are home and they're downloading a load of whatever and doing their own thing and basically hoovering up all the bandwidth, it won't matter. You'll be able to do your Zoom calls, your Microsoft Teams calls, work extremely well without having to worry about bandwidth and gapping and interruption. It also means people who currently can't shop online can now do that. It's things like keeping in touch with people, using things like Facebook, where, if you're not all in the UK, you can keep in contact much better. So you've got what we call social inclusion, social digital inclusion, and it really makes it happen for these rural areas. So that's for the consumers and the sort of homes and the residential, but it's also for the businesses. This is a huge opportunity for Cornwall. We had some work done about a year ago with a company called Courier, and independently validated what we were doing with these bids, and it could have about £600 million of GVA positive impact by 2030, and that's really, really important. So that's new businesses who come to the area, or people come up with new ideas. You need to be able to accept payments, you need to be able to get online, you can do all of that. There's nothing then to stop Cornwall becoming a proper digital economy, working across the whole of the landmass and being able to be basically the next California.
I think so. Silicon Valley for sure in Cornwall. I felt that for a while actually, but with what you're able to start bringing in, there's just absolutely, because we already have a most beautiful place down here.
Yeah,
for sure.
It would breed creativity.
Of course.
The environment breeds creativity. If you put technology with that, then you grow your economy. That's fundamental.
Paddy, I just want to come to you for a second. I think you've got to deliver this by, 2025?
Oh, yes.
Yes, they're very clear. December 2025 have to be done. Yeah.
So from a technical
That's
point
Justin's
of view,
worry,
you
not
all right then. Well, open to anyone. Open to anyone. So how are you going to do this? How are you going to do this? Of course, you're going to employ 200 people because your story is phenomenal. Really, you started with a team of 27, 28, something like that.
This time last year was about 28 of us.
There you go. Right then, all of a sudden you're approaching maybe 150 now.
That's right.
If I'm on ball with everything and keeping up to breast with all the changes. But when I saw on the press release 200 people, I'm thinking that's like 200 people going up to, so another 50 people to top up the workforce here in the Southwest. But it's another additional 200 people, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's right.
So you guys obviously can deliver this, but how are you going to do it? Just talk technical to me for a while.
In terms of the technology, it's more of what we're delivering in places like Liskeard and Callington at the moment. So it's fibre to the premise. So it's fibre from our, what we call a central office, our systems, and then out using existing infrastructure if we can. So we're trying not to dig up the roads where we don't need to. And then via those systems right to the home, a fibre is delivered right there. And then on that's where we put our hardware. And it's as complicated, as simple as that. It's a piece of glass that goes from your house to our systems and then onto the internet. That's the complicated bit, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's for people listening and watching again, that they might be thinking this is like the answer to all our prayers. And I said earlier on in the green room, I remember that day switching from the old dial-up to broadband, and I'm only talking maybe 5 megs at that time, but it was life changing. And I remember my mind just thinking, well, I could do this now. I could do this. I could put my videos online now.
I get surprised by some people that have workarounds for their slow internet. So you can either play a game or watch iPlayer. You can either have video conferencing or the children doing their homework. Those are the compromises that lots of people are making. Well, you don't need to make those compromises straight away, and that makes life just a little bit easier. There's less friction just within the house. That's a very simple thing. But then when you go on to, not only can you all video conference, but you can have different devices around the house. So I mean, my house has our fibre, as you'd expect.
Yes.
Just a coincidence, but we have the Amazon devices and we talk around the house. So when I'm in the workshop, then Amanda will let me know it's dinner by video.
Yes.
But also we talk to my daughter and we talk to my children. My son's up in York and to Amanda's parents, and you just say, "Call Nana," and then it does it. It's those simplicity, and it's less friction. Not just in the house, but it's less friction in everything you're doing.
See, I've got a smart home, probably not as smart as yours, but it's surprising how many people come into our home, and we've got lots of friends and family come into our house. We're a very, entertaining house with all people coming and going. But I'll send a message from outside, to the speaker system inside to Helen to say whatever, and then people, wow, how did that happen? Are you for real? You're like you're 25 and you don't know how this is happening?
Yeah. When you're having a party and people have their own Spotify list, just add it. It's fine.
Yeah, that's right.
Simple.
And smart lights, I'm really into them at the minute. Oh my goodness me!
Disco lights on is a phrase in our house.
Yes, exactly. So, Justin, apart from everything you've got to think about from a career point of view now for what you've got to deliver, what for you is the kind of main advantages in your mind that stands out? There's so many, of course, but for what this can bring to people, what's going to...
Yeah, I mean, following on from what Paddy just described, that's the frustration for many people. They want that sort of activity at home, but they just don't have the internet, so they can't live that type of lifestyle that they want. And one of the joys about this government scheme is it's often referred to as a F20, Final 20. It's really focusing on those people that are so rurally, digitally detached that the market is never going to provide that connectivity unless the government stepped in and provided some funding. So now we've got that for the people of Cornwall. We can, on top of what we're doing as a commercial business, focus on levelling up the digital divide and getting the connectivity that these people need so they can use their Amazon smart devices and whatnot. And the other thing everyone will experience from COVID, was really difficult in the southwest for children to undertake homeschooling. They didn't have the devices, but they certainly didn't have the connectivity. My children suffered because we don't have Wildanet internet connection, and it's just frustrating for them. And I think lots of them suffer with anxiety. So as Helen referred to earlier, in terms of use cases, what the experience will be for people that are able to consume these Wildanet internet connectivities, it's going to make a massive difference for many families in lots of different ways.
Robotics. We talked earlier on outside of the studio that with this sort of capability comes, working robotics from afar and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a commercial on TV, I won't mention the brand, but where they're landing a so-called airplane because they're using fast internet connections. I don't know whether that
drives me wild, that one.
Yeah, I bet it does. I bet it does. But the capabilities of what you can do with the infrastructure you're putting in, the speeds that you're now talking.
Well, those autonomous devices need very, very high speed and low latency. So it's not just about it being gigabit. Yeah. It has to be very fast internet in terms of the response time of the internet, in the milliseconds.
And that's, of course, what latency is for those who don't know.
Yeah, so the best way to describe it is when you're playing a game online like Call of Duty or something like that, and you move your joystick and then there's a delay until the screen avatar moves, that's latency. When you're on the telephone and you speak and the other person and then they speak, that's latency. And that has to be nothing for these autonomous devices, because if you've got something going along at 10 or 20 miles an hour, it needs to know what to do very, very quickly. You're doing some meters a second.
And again, when we had you in here for the first podcast and we was talking in technical, things like this blows my mind, because you're speaking to someone to the opposite end of the world and there's just no latency. How is this doing this?
I think
Graham Bell back in the day, Alexander Graham Bell, you think, crikey's sake.
Yes, Mr. Watson, I need you. It's changed quite a lot.
Yes.
I think the robotics side as well, it's got so many applications down here. So we're working with one of the farms on basically looking at basically robotic sheep dogging, for want of a better word, where effectively, instead of having to do additional fencing in a field to keep your grazing.
This is clever, yeah.
Yeah, what you can do is actually you can use our signal to contain a flock of sheep or some cattle in an area of a field, which of course means in terms of grazing, you're not having to put up artificial fencing, electric fencing, and working it in that way. And it's those types of robotics which, if you're trying to run, 50-acre farm or something, just walking it every day, it's just a lot of work. If you've got coverage, you're getting into the realms of where you can remote manage, you can look at what's going on. There is lots and lots of great robotic activities being built in farming and agriculture at the moment, which are just about ready, but they require coverage. Now, this means you can have those things. So it could be automatic weeders, it could be sampling, it could be basically taking out the weedier plants and making sure you've got the strong ones left in the soil. It could be taking soil samples on crops. There are so many applications that now will become apparent. So if you go to Milton Keynes, you'll find running around the city, the Starship robotic things which deliver bottles of wine and pizza to the residents of Milton Keynes, right? That works because they've got the sort of gigabit capability we don't have here. And these little things run along the pavement all the way, do about 25 miles an hour. They know that, to Paddy's point, they stop when they're told. So if you jump in front, it stops, okay, and it locks itself to the floor so you can't kick it over. They've got cameras on all sorts of things. So if you abuse them, that gets reported back. And, the city of Milton Keynes no longer collects its own milk and papers in some areas because it's delivered using the Starship robotics. Now, I'm not suggesting that's what we need here, but actually thinking about it and the cost of doing those sort of things, if you've got that capability, there's all sorts of things that you can do around robotics, which in a rural area are probably far more exciting than delivering your paper and your Prosecco. And, with those, that's what you can do once you've got that foundation in. We need some innovative people in the Southwest to build those applications now.
And I think those people exist for sure. We're doing some amazing videos for some really good tech companies down here. Let's not forget about the great work you've done so far. Let's kind of remember some of the kind of case studies you had there where you had a farmer. I remember you talking about a farmer that used to manually have to update the records because the internet was so slow.
One of our first customers, and his and his wife's lunchtime was sat at the screen at the computer pressing refresh on the DEFRA website to upload the milking quotas, what they'd done that day, because apparently you have to do it that day. So they do it every day, and that was an hour's effort to do that. And we put our service in, and now they don't have to talk to each other. It's fabulous for them. They meet each other for lunchtime, press the thing, and go off and do their thing. It is a new way of working for them. So, in fact, I don't think it actually comes into the house. It's done in the office above the milking parlour now.
Yeah.
It's a change in the way they do it. So they can do more things. They can do more activities that make money for them, you know, in different ways. I think they're doing cheese now, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about the employment side of things for a minute. 200 more power to the people there for you guys. What sort of jobs are we looking at? I mean, I'm just thinking technical here now because I've got technical things in front of me here. I've got Paddy sat to the right to me. What sort of jobs are we talking here? Is it all technical then on the field?
No, a lot of them will be the project-based team. So there's lots of sort of skilled disciplines that we need to go and build the network. So it's people that go and surveying the infrastructure and the geography that's available. There's engineers to go and put, you know, to dig where they need to dig, to place cable in the ground or use existing open reach poles, if you know, because we go for the least cost route. There'll be field engineering, so as customers sign for us, someone needs to go and install. It's a new connection, so we'll take the fibre in directly into their home and set up the router and the configuration for them. We need sales ambassadors that go and communicate with the communities, so we don't just turn up. We make a great deal of effort in sort of priming a new community so they know we're coming, they feel that they're part of the process, they'll understand where we're building, if there's going to be any disruption, what that disruption is likely to be, and if there's anything we can do to mitigate, and be aware of, you know, local fairs or parish events so that we work in harmony with them. So that the kind of the type of individuals that we'll bring into the Wildanet family will be diverse, so that will be benefit right across the business. And then obviously that will be supplemented by our customer services team and also our subcontractors. We will work with local partners, and this should help them to give them, you know, the assurity that they've got a big part of the Wildanet future for the next 3 to 5 years, so they can have the confidence to scale up their business as well and seek extra investment, knowing that they've got a secured sort of line of credit with us, as it were.
I want to talk about those people out there listening to this, watching this, thinking, look, this is all well and good, but this sounds mighty expensive for me to access at home, what the monthly payments are going to be. But also my kind of one is for those people that are the lower income people, where they want to access the internet. I'm not talking about the fastest speeds, but where a place where they don't have any connectivity at the minute. How do you include them in this kind of continued rollout? I know you're doing it already, but how do we look after them?
So that is very much the Wildanet way. So the thing to remember is that 93% of us actually live in either Devon or Cornwall. So we are doing this of Cornwall, for Cornwall, by Cornwall. And that is very much who we are. It was in the founder principles. So we have a social tariff, which we put in, not because we were mandated to do it, but because simply we recognise that poverty in Cornwall is one of the counties which is one of the poor ones in England. So we have a social tariff. So if you're on universal credit, you can access that. And we kept it really simple, and that will go across the intervention areas as well.
Brilliant.
We also, at the moment, actually, you know, in terms of our pricing, we've held our price for 2 years. And I know other people are putting it up by 14, 80%, but actually, you have to think in the round. What I'd rather do is I'd rather keep my customers loyal, make sure they're happy with the service, because this is a utility and we take it very seriously. You know, if you are reliant on your broadband service to work, live, play, or you've got medical service in the back, you know, you need stability. You need stability of price, stability of service, and reassurance around that. And that's really been central to who we are and what we're doing. So we will make sure the pricing is fair and equitable. As we roll out the areas, it'll be lined up with the rest of the areas. It'll be no different. But the other thing that we're going to do, which is part of the agreement with the government, is we're going to open our network up. So yes, we will sell Wildanet as it is, but we will also have wholesalers on it. So what that practically means, if you're Virgin or TalkTalk and you want to come to the Southwest and you don't want to build your own network, at the moment you could go to BT Openreach and say, can I become one of your wholesalers? Actually, we're going to do the same. And the reason we're going to do that is because it's the principle of customer choice. So we are never going to sell telly, right? We're not going to do the quad band stuff, unless you persuade me otherwise, Paddy, simply because it's not our core business, right? Okay. What we're going to do is provide really high quality broadband for businesses and for consumers. But actually, if these companies want to come on board and do other types of sales, what it means is more customer choice. And that will also mean there's good competitive price across the whole of Cornwall. And also quality. So choice, quality, good value for money. And we're not going to move away from that. That's who we are. You know, and at the end of the day, we want to make sure we have really good uptake on this service. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit sad for us that we put all the fibre in and nobody wants to use it. You know, so that's very much who we are.
No, it's great, absolutely super, and I wanted to get that across to certainly our viewers and wherever this video ends up, because this is the beauty of the internet. It can end up anywhere.
Yeah. When our build is complete, what we're doing is we're making Cornwall ubiquitous in having fibre. So it is another service like water and electricity and whatever. You once you get it, you're not going to not want it.
Sure.
But it can't be at a price that is unaffordable for you. We're conscious of that. So it has to be in line with what your expectations are. That's
and I think it's what we already do, so that people have the opportunity to take a much better service that they already have if they're using their existing copper service.
Sure.
But the lowest package will far outperform what they already have, and we don't charge them any more for that. So if they're already using internet from someone else, they won't pay any more for a fibre internet service with Wildanet if they don't want to have the great speeds that you have here.
Absolutely. Well, to be fair, you guys are already dwarfing the speeds that we have here. I mean, it's like, really, it's like top trumps. I ain't playing with you guys. Let's have a look at some of this stuff here. Let's geek out for a minute.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is to start of what it is. I presume later on you'll do.
We will get some close-ups over the top of this. Yeah,
it's hard to describe what. So, here's our normal trunk fibre. So this is 144 fibre optic cables in tubes of 12.
Right. Okay.
And each one is colour coded, and I'm supposed to remember the colour code.
Yep. I'm colourblind, so I wouldn't have a chance.
And within, you'd have a job. Yeah. You're not working.
I'll never get a job with you.
And then within those 12 tubes, there are 12 fibres, and those 12 fibres are then you take the colour coding off, and you're left with the outer sheath, and then you cleave that like you would, when you cut glass and you put the scratch in it and break it. That's how we do that.
Right. Okay.
Cleave it with the same sort of a tool, and then put the two together, and then fuse them. Literally 1,600 degrees. Fuse the glass so it's moulded together. And then that's how you joint the fibre, and that's how we make it extend on and on and on.
Wow.
So it starts off as that one fibre coming out, and that one fibre will serve 64 clients, and up to 10 gigabits each.
Yeah.
That's where we're aiming at. And that fibre is then split into 8 more fibres, what we call a primary node. And then it goes on, and that is then split into another 8 fibres, and those fibres are the individual ones that go to each premise, and that's how we do that.
Oh my goodness! I mean, yeah.
And these are the tubes that we do. So when, as Justin said, we try and use existing infrastructure at the moment. So when there's a duct underground, we will put this within it, and this is what's called a subduct. It's 25 mil because them's is the rules, and then within that we have 6 other ducts. And these on the ends are airtight seals, because the way that we move fibres down these is we blow it with air. We can put compressed air and we blow the fibre, and you can blow.
I was just imagining someone then going.
Yeah, we have some very big guys. That, your training is really long. It starts with your trumpet training, and then on trombone training. And then,
The machine is nicknamed Hurricane Higgins.
Right, okay.
Fibre blower.
I got you.
And it will blow, and you can blow this down a 25 mil tube if you.
Right.
So it's quite a large machine that does that kind of thing. And even the client service with just the single fibre that goes to an individual, that's blown by a handheld version of the compressed air. And that's how you move fibre around in these kind of ducts. And that's what it comes in when it comes to your house. And purple's the colour because that was my daughter's favourite colour. So.
I like it. I like it a lot. In fact, yes, Helen's my partner's favourite colour as well. I would imagine that this is a great opportunity as well for apprentices and things like that. But I mean, I'm looking at this and I like this because I do like a bit. I know I can't because I'm colourblind, but not everyone's colourblind. But people might listen to this and think, I would like to work. We would like, I like engineering. I like this kind of making things work.
So we absolutely want to bring in people locally onto apprenticeships. And actually, if you're sort of 18, think you want to become an engineer, you can do a level 7 apprenticeship, which is equivalent of a degree in engineering. And we've taken a lot of people who've come out of the forces who have got that type of background. It gives you a discipline for life. And once you've done this type of work, actually, you can progress from it. This is a good basic engineering skill skill blowing fibre. And once you've mastered that, there are lots of other things you can do. And when I meet our engineers, we give them a van and off they go with all their tools and everything else. And they take a lot of pride in their work, you know, and it's about, right, how do I do this? What do I make to make this thing happen? Because you are working between properties over a long distance. So quite often we do get out there, and engineers have to be slightly more imaginative about how we're going to get this service done. And we normally put an apprentice with a senior, so they get the training and support and mentoring that they need. But in about, you know, within a space of a few months, you're up and running. And the only thing I'd say is if you are going to do this type of work, just remember it's holes and poles. So if you have vertigo, it may not be the career for you, okay? We have had one or two found out they've got vertigo. So, you know, it is down holes and up poles. But actually, in terms of a good, well-paying career with an apprenticeship, this is one that we want people to step forward and say, can I have a go at that?
Yeah, very much so. And you know, even earlier than you've left school, if you're at school and choosing what to do, STEM is the way to go. You know, these are the skills that you're going to need to be able to work in this kind of industry. All of the engineering, all of the mathematics. You know, we have the modelling that we did for our tender response was done by effectively an AI that did the design for us. You have to have very skilled people that can do that kind of thing.
I mean, the opportunities right now, we're in 2023, right at the start of a new year, it really is, there's no boundary to it really, because we're talking on this level right now, and it's just miles away from what we would have thought possible only a few years ago, certainly the normal person, you know. But I mean, once you get there and you fulfill this, there'll be something else. Yeah. But
we're normal people as well.
You're extra normal, right? You're extraordinary. Oh my goodness, I can't even say it. Extraordinary people. I'm overwhelmed with it really. Especially when you start looking at I really thought this. Do you remember those pens where different colours? Different colours. You twist them around. You're on a yellow pen on here. That's what I thought it was, and you turned up, but it wasn't. But when I started seeing all this sort of stuff, and you look at the detail of these fibre, I know what fibre looks like, but crikey's sake, it's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, it still impresses me.
Yeah.
When you see a fusion splicer nowadays, and when back in the old days when I was taught to do this, it was a manual effort. You lined up the fibres, looking through the microscope, and lined them up, and then you press the button. And when you came out and it looked like this, you went, got to do it again and things. Now the machine lines it up itself, pushes it in, fuses it. You can see it on the screen, done every time, and it's a form of magic. And there are devices that will do it 12 at a time, and I think we saw a 512 at a time.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
But you know,
unbelievable.
It's quite impressive how the technology's moved on.
Okay, so my next question: what next? I mean, literally, what next? So next week and moving on, I'll start with you, Helen. We'll go around. What is next for you?
So for me, we're working very closely, obviously, with DCMS and BD UK to deliver this plan. And actually, you know, this is a big thing as well because they certainly are very thorough in the way they do their due diligence. So, you know, our tender response we went and hired an officer next to me. It took us 6 weeks and a lot of chocolate to answer all the questions. And, you know, they've gone through due diligence with us. So there is a plan already, okay? And, you know, their expectations are very, very clear about making sure we deliver for Cornwall. And and I'll say it again, we take that very seriously. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to deliver to that. And in that includes things like making sure we communicate with the areas. We basically speak to local council about making sure that we've got everything lined up. So there's a whole communication plan to be done in the first instance about the order of things and how we're going to do that, getting people on board, getting the kit on board, because also we need all the supplies and all the things, getting our partners on board. So we're in mobilisation now, doing those pieces. But in terms of the actual rollout, the guys will be able to talk you through that much more than I will. And we're at that point of starting to move forward. The nice thing is, within 6 months, we'll be putting fibre in the ground. Brilliant. And that's a really, that's really something. So come June, we will be seeing the first signs of this. And that means potentially within 8 weeks after that, the first customers could be going live with Gigabit capable fibre. Wow.
Absolutely fantastic. Paddy?
My responsibility is to make sure it gets out of Cornwall, gets onto the internet. So I'm responsible for the core network. And when you're in the core network, it has to be diverse. It has to have no failure points. And that's part of what I'm enacting. Even now, I'm ordering links and things to make sure that what comes out of Cornwall is done reliably and very, very fast. That's the next part, because as more people come on, we don't want to end up with it in a contention situation. So that's part of my ongoing role.
And that's the thing as well, keeping the internet going. It's like, we live in an age, I certainly have a good internet connection here at the studio, and touch wood, 9 times out of 10 it works, but my goodness, when it goes down,
it's back to the Stone Age.
It is.
Yeah.
And we remember when those social media sites went down, your WhatsApp goes, and all of a sudden you're thinking, well, I can't communicate with these people. Yeah. I've got email left, and that's why I'm still, even though I'm terrible at email, I'm still trying to communicate on email, because when the others go down, when Snapchat goes, WhatsApp goes down, Messenger goes down, it's out of your control. Yeah. So it's a big
that part of it we run 24/7. If there's an alert that we'll react to within some seconds.
And Justin, for you, what's next?
The hard work
starts
now. No, that's it for 3 years.
Yeah.
So as Paddy said, for part of the process, we had to do a high-level design, which is like a desktop-type survey, if you like. So now it gets real. So for instance, there's 2 lots. One is called the West and one is called Central. So we start the detailed designing work for the Western lot. We've already identified what we refer to as the spine or the feeder, the bit that's going to link all the properties to Paddy's network. It's 168 kilometres long. So we've got to build that before we even start building any of the premises. Wow. As Helen said, there's kind of 9,500 premises in each lot, but supplementary to that, we expect to build 50,000 commercial properties in the same area. So we will be kind of starting build areas 4, 5, 6 simultaneously, and then working our way around the county, so that when we finish in that area, it's complete, it's signed off. Paddy's team just then operate it, go and install the customers, and they're live and off we go. So people don't have to wait until we finish the project at the end of the 3 years.
That's a fair point. It's not like everybody wait December 2025 right now. No, it's as Helen said, there will be customers coming onto this year.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So and as Helen said, then it's sort of, we've got to put in the applications. We've got to have the community again. It's fair to make it aware. So if anyone did want to go onto the Wildanet.com website, if you're one of the unique specific properties that's included within this bid, that you will get that recognition of that. If your address doesn't come up, don't panic, because as we said, there's lots of other premises that we will be doing at the same time. And as we get into that detailed stage in the next couple of months, we will update the website so it's clearer to all those who will be covered.
And we do communicate directly with premises that we're going past as well, with letters and leaflets.
Sure.
As part of the we're going to be digging your road, or we're going to be working in your area, sort of thing. So you won't not know we're coming.
That postcode checker is that whole typing it, please. No, it's not. I have to wait. I remember that on mobile phones when I was at school many moons ago, and they brought up this mobile phone that was available in Argos, and I was only like 15 or 16 years old, and I always wanted a mobile phone. It came out, it was a pay-as-you-go one, the first pay-as-you-go, and I thought, great, I don't need to have a contract. Mum can't say no, and I managed to save up for this mobile phone, and I remember getting it. I took it out the box and everything, and I was like, oh wow, this is great. It turned on, no signal. Unbelievable. I'm like, you for real? I had to go to Plymouth to make a call. I said, Mum, I'm coming over for tea. It took me an hour to get back home. I really did. Unbelievable. Is there anything else that you wonderful people would like to mention in this kind of broadcast that we're doing that we haven't already mentioned?
I think there's 2 things. So one of the things about fibre and this digital revolution is getting on board, and people are still nervous about using technology. Paddy sits on the Digital Skills Council. Julianne, who's our CPO, has lots to do with STEM and with getting people in earlier. We are keen, wherever possible, to encourage people to have a go. Okay, and we will spend the time and we'll support other organisations who are better placed than us about making sure digital skills are there. But this is an opportunity for Cornwall in terms of being able to build new businesses, new things, and don't get left behind. There are people who help you get on and use this technology, and it is a real opportunity for everyone. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you've never used the internet before, this will help you and it'll be transformational for you. And the second thing I think is just a very simple thing. As Wildanet, we will do this properly. We will do this for Cornwall. We will spend every penny of the money we've been given by the government properly, and we will make sure we're held accountable, and we'll hold ourselves accountable to doing this. And what we'll leave behind is probably a network that in our lifetime will never ever need to be dug up again. So we should get 30, 40 years before the next generation of technology comes. We've made sure it's future-proof, and we want to leave a lasting legacy, which is for Cornwall, and we will do this well.
You certainly are doing that. I know you're sat in front of me, but you really are. You've done a huge thing for Cornwall outside of what you do. You're very interactive with things. I know you have a wonderful team behind you. Let's not forget about the team.
They're great. Yeah.
Obviously, Matt Greaves and the marketing team, the comms who deal with us quite a bit. You know, you're only as good as the people behind you, right? I mean, you're top of your game, but it's the same with us here. Without Jay, without Mike, we couldn't do what we do. Is there any closing remarks from yourself, Justin?
Yeah, I think just following on from Helen, really, we get some great feedback, not just from our customers, but for people that live in the areas that we've already built our network. So encourage people to feel part of it. This is a Cornwall project, it's not just a Wildanet project. You know, say hi to the people in the street, ask questions, because they'll be delighted to explain what's going on and what it means and when things will be ready. So yeah, just be part of it, really.
Absolutely. And Paddy, any closing remarks from yourself?
Yeah, in terms of the employment and things like that, we are supporting the Digital Skills Partnership for Cornwall. There's going to be boot camps in the next 10 weeks that we're supporting. So have a look at that as well if you're thinking of getting into digital skills. It's something that Chloe Rickard, who's one of the leads there, pushes quite heavily. Tech girls and tech women are running the boot camps. So, you know, getting more women into our industry is critical. For too long, it's looked like lots of me in the room whenever there's a gathering of us, and it has for sort of the last 40 years. It's time to change that as well.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're in a great place. I know there's always some kind of challenges going on in the world somewhere, but I think focusing on what we can change and making the best of what we have, I think is a great thing. I think the whole of Cornwall needs to embrace this. We've got yourselves, we've got like the Spaceport Cornwall, we've got lithium, there's so many things going on. Kim Country from the Chamber of Commerce champions a lot of these things. We go along to a lot of these events. We've got so much to look forward to. And I cannot wait to touch base on a regular basis with Team Wildanet and meet some of the people that are coming on board as part of the new team and how they get inspired and their ideas as well. Well, as always, it's a pleasure to have you guys in the studio. Thank you as always for your support to the channel.
No, thank
you. We couldn't do it without you guys and all our wonderful businesses. Well, that's it for this special. It's a long one. There's a lot of information there. If you've got any questions at all, please make sure you reach out to this wonderful team. We'll make sure the details are on the video and around any status that we put out. But if you know anyone doing anything remarkable in Cornwall, please let us know. We are your channel for Cornwall, your TV channel for Cornwall, shane@cornwallchannel.co.uk. On behalf of myself and Team Wildanet, we'll see you next time. Many thanks.